What's going on, everybody? This is Afro Think Tank. And we have to understand one thing about systematic racism, institutionalized racism, and classism. Classism is the thing that discriminates against white people within their systems and institutions. Okay? Racism is what all white people get to enjoy. And we have to also understand that America does not belong to Europeans. America is an institution and a structure of white supremacy. It doesn't matter how patriotic you feel you are, because that's propaganda put into your head. You, as an African who lives in America, this is not your homeland. Well, this is your homeland. Where I'm at, your homeland. America is not your homeland, no matter how many Superman and Captain America commercials and TV shows you go see. America is a colony. The Native Americans are still right now being colonized. America belongs to the Native Americans. It does not belong to the Europeans. We happen to be here because we were used as tools, as the system to build their white Wakanda. All right, because that's what America is. It's a white Wakanda built off the backs of Africans after they destroyed the black Wakanda. Without black Wakanda, there would be no white Wakanda. They had to dismantle the bricks of black Wakanda to build up white Wakanda. So we as Africans who are used as the tools to build the white Wakanda need to start to use those very same tools to dismantle Wakanda, white Wakanda, and go build our black Wakanda with our own bricks. And we need to understand that those Europeans, they are going, and they are attempting now, they are going to try to reestablish themselves in Africa fully and completely. And when I talk about establish themselves, they're going to try to establish their institutions and their structures in Africa because they know their white Wakanda is going down. So they're going to use their tricks and every little thing that they can do to try to make it seem like they nice, the way they would seem like they were nice the first goddamn time, to go and infiltrate our black Wakanda and carve out a space for them, as they have done in South Africa, right? So we got to make sure not to allow them to do that. We got to make sure those white ones that do go over there, that if they're there, they don't get to control structures. They don't get to control institution. They don't get to control any of that. If you're gonna live there, you need to integrate with your one generation with the black people, and then eventually you'll go the way of the black people. That's what you need. You need to integrate. The same way they tell us, you gotta integrate, you gotta assimilate. They need to biologically assimilate, and that's the only thing they can do. Other than that, they should not be allowed to establish their white Wakandas within our Wakanda, if you know what I mean. And we got to make sure in the future that all structures and institutions are owned and operated and controlled by Africans. You should have no problem with giving up the American. That's why I'm an African American, because I am a citizen of America, but I'm an African. And I'm willing to give up America because I would love for the Native Americans to get their land back from colonization. I would love for the Native Americans to be able to have the Western Hemisphere back to them, to where they can build structures, Native American structures. They can build institutions for themselves and try to rebound from 500 years of genocide that they had to deal with because of these white savage barbarians from Europe. That's what I want for them, right? And every other colony, like Australia, I want those black aboriginals to be able to get back Australia and take back their land from those colonizers, barbarian savages in Australia. I want the South Africans to get their fucking stick out their goddamn head and to get rid of those white savage barbarian cavemen out of their countries so they can control their country as well. Globally, I want the Australians to be able to do the same thing. I want the Koreans to be able to get all them goddamn savage barbarians out of their country by getting rid of all those American military bases. I want all the countries of the world with all the melanated people to eliminate the neocolonialism that's happening currently right now with all these European military bases on their countries designed to control the people and the institutions of those countries. Because if there's a military base from Europe in that country, that's neocolonialism, period. And that's coming from a former United States Marine Corps veteran right there. That's coming from me. I'm saying it because I've seen it with my own eyes. I've witnessed it. I've witnessed what we do. And that's where most people wake up. Even the white ones wake up that way. Everybody wakes up when you in the shit for real and you realize what the hell you're doing. When the tool wakes up and realizes it's being used, that's when they wake up. That's when the Logia fruit wakes up. You understand what I mean? I had to use that reference. The Logia fruit. Only if you gonna understand that, but you black, you know what I just said, right? So we need to be very smart about our movements and who we allow to come with us. The allies, who you like to call it, they still benefit from white supremacy. And they're still going to use their white supremacy to benefit themselves in this new world that we're going into. And we cannot allow them to do that, period. And we have to remember, yeah, there's classism. Every group has a form of classism. But classism and racism are two different things. All white people enjoy racism. All white people show that they are willing to be racist. And they will never give it up willingly. They will never give it up willingly. You got to take it from them. You have to destroy it physically. There's no being nice. There's no Dr. Martin Luther King solutions here. There's no Dr. Martin Luther King solutions. None. We only got Malcolm X solutions here. This is the age of Malcolm X, not the age of Dr. Martin Luther King. Why do you think they have no problem with Dr. Martin Luther King? And why do you think they always pump out that one speech and never talk about his other speeches? Because that one speech by default says, hey, at the end of the day, even if we lose, we all should just be friends. We should all just get along and be equal. At the end, they feel like when they lose by default, if they can just trick the black people and saying, okay, the mission is for all of us to be equal and be friends. At least that way they don't have to suffer the consequences of none of their actions. No, we need the Malcolm X solutions. Because in the real world, nature has consequences for your actions. And they will have consequences for their actions. And it's coming. And there's nothing that they can do to stop it because we are on our way. But you got to get your mind right and don't allow them to trick you. That's why foundational black American, fuck that. You're a foundational black African is what you are. You're aboriginal too. You're aboriginal to North America. Fuck that. You are aboriginal to Africa, which means you are aboriginal to the earth. You need to upgrade yourself. Just being who you are is a massive upgrade. Knowing who you are is a massive upgrade. That's why I don't respect anybody that rather attach themselves to a nationality that's a structure of white supremacists than attach yourself to the great history and the great people who you come from. So yeah, just keep that in mind for the future. And I'm going to put some information. This black man is about to spit some serious game about the difference between classism and racism and what it is that we need to do and understand how they operate and how we need to operate. Anyway, that's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out.
White people are never, ever, ever going to give up white supremacy willingly. And that's because of the consequences that it would cause if they gave it up. And I'm not talking about mean words related to race. I'm not talking about hurt feelings. I'm talking about systemic white supremacy. White supremacy is all about control of resources. And these resources could be labor, they could be territory, they could be the resources on that territory, like oil or cobalt. It's also about power. Legislative power, economic power, cultural power, or influence. And all these different facets of white supremacy have worked together for hundreds of years to put white people in the place they are now. White people are 14 or 15% of the world population. They control 60% of the wealth. In the United States, white people are 60% of the population and control 84.5% of the wealth. Even if you cut out the top 1%, the median household income for white families is $205,000 a year. For black people, it's $44,000 a year. Black people in the United States are about 16% of the population. In 1865, they held 0.5% of the wealth. In 2023, they held 4.2% of the wealth. Africa is 17% of the world's population, but holds less than 2% of global wealth. And I'm bringing up Africa because white supremacy is a global system. And to end global white supremacy, it's necessary to remove the control that white people have over territory that they've taken through white supremacy. A lot of people will conflate race with class, but it's not the same thing at all. In fact, for the territories that are under European occupation, the problem is a race issue, not a class issue primarily. From the perspective of the invaded, when Europeans invaded territory, is it only the rich Europeans that are the problem? No, it's the poor Europeans as well. Let's say you got rid of all the billionaires in Australia. From the Aboriginal Australians' point of view, is the problem over, or are the people that invaded his land still occupying his land? I feel like the reason why people say no war but class war is because the other types of oppression are systems that benefit them. Class is the way that white people are oppressed as a race. Racism is the way that benefits white people as a race. So it makes sense to me that they want to get rid of class instead of talking about race, or they think that getting rid of class will also get rid of race. If we say we want to end white supremacy, but white people will still have the things that they got through white supremacy, then what has really changed? When you stop a thief that is stealing from you, do you let the thief keep what he stole? Of course not. So let's talk about what would happen if the United States redistributed funds equally among the people in the United States in a vacuum. White median household income, $205,000. Black median household income, $44,000. If you redistribute the wealth, these people come down. The average is like $128,000. That would be a huge jump up for black people, but it would be a huge drop for white people. Then you have to consider how the United States gets that wealth in the first place. The United States is 4% of the population, holds 35% of the wealth. So the wealth that the United States has is based on stealing from other people. If you globally redistribute the wealth that the United States has 4% of the wealth. That's a drop of 30%. What would the United States look like then? If you don't want that to happen, then you have to allow the United States to keep doing the evil things that it does all around the world to maintain that percentage of wealth. It's also the same problem as earlier. If the white people took this land, but they get to retain it after white supremacy ends, then how is white supremacy really over? It's not. Also, if we say we want to end white supremacy, but after white supremacy ends, non-white people are still under the control of white people, either legislatively or economically or culturally, then white supremacy hasn't really ended. Now globally, Europeans are 16% of the population and hold 60% of the wealth. And we all know that they haven't got that amount of wealth by being nice to anybody else. They've stolen it. They've murdered hundreds of millions of people to get that. Through white supremacy, Europeans have direct territorial control over North America, parts of South America, New Zealand, Tasmania, Australia. They have neo-colonial control over some territories like South Korea, Ukraine, obviously, a number of African states. And through economic warfare or subterfuge, some Europeans control resources in territory outside of Europe, like the Swiss with their company Glencore, which controls 70% of the DRC's cobalt, or the French with their company Total Energies that dominates West African oil. Not to mention the Canadians, who are famous in non-Western media for human rights abuses related to mining camps. So what would happen if these Europeans, who have been pillaging the world for hundreds of years, lose control of the things that they've taken and lose the ability to profit off of the evil that they've done? Western Europe would turn into a cultural backwater. It wouldn't be anything. The basis of its wealth is the exploitation of non-European people. And if you remove that exploitation, there's nothing left. Now, some white people might say to me, well, why can't we all just work together? Why can't we have a global system where we all work together for the benefit of humanity? And that sounds reasonable. But I just don't see the incentive for the global majority to work together with the Europeans who have been oppressing them and contributing labor to the Europeans any longer. Like, how much more labor, how many more resources do you think the Europeans deserve after what they've done and are doing? If you were a slave and you just got freedom, would you work together with the slave master to make sure that he had a better quality of life? Of course not. If you've been exploited by billionaires and you win the class struggle, are you interested in making sure that the ex-billionaire has a fine standard of living? Of course not. The Europeans have worked together against what is good for the majority of humanity for hundreds of years. Therefore, what is bad for Europeans is good for the majority of humanity. Kwame Ture said something similar. He said, what is good for the master is bad for the slave, and what is bad for the master is good for the slave. It's the same thing here. And this is why Europeans will never give up white supremacy. It's the same reason the South would not get rid of slavery, because their economy and their way of life is completely dependent upon white supremacy. It's the basis of their culture. It's the unifying force for Europeans. Their economic system is based on it. Their cultures are based on it. Their religions are based on it. From the perspective of the white race, maintaining white supremacy is a matter of survival for them. And so the majority of the world has to stop acting like they're ever going to give it up. The truth is that it has to be combated. It has to be fought. The power has to be taken. And only through taking the power are things going to get better for humanity.
Wait. Before you go, for all my subscribers and philanthropists out there, I'm building a solar power community water bowl system in Nigeria. It's going to cost between $5,000 and $6,000. I'm trying to raise money. If you want to participate and help me build this solar power water system, please donate to the Cash App and put solar water in the notes. Solar water in the notes. I'll put PayPal, Stripe, and Zelle. Anyway, thank you. That's all I got to say. It's Afro Think Tank. Learn something, teach something. I'm out. Thanks for watching Afro Think Tank. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And follow me on Substack and Patreon for more content. Remember, it's Pan-Africanism or nothing.